are some things about Joe I think you should know, and some of these things even Joe doesn't know. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Here we go. Joe's enchanted life is based on my mistake. When he first asked Jill out, she asked me for my take. I said Joe's a great guy, not knowing what was starting, or that in my confusion I was speaking of Ray Martin. There are some things about Joe I think you should know, and some of these things Joe won't want you to know. So let's all relax and enjoy the show, except Joe. Don't know if you've noticed, but Joey likes to win, even if the road to victory includes a little sin. He crushes opposition while showing no remorse. Joey plays by every rule he knows that they'll enforce. There are some things about Joe I think you should know, and some of these things Joe won't want you to know. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Sorry, Joe. There are lots of stories that lots of us could mention, but making this much longer risks losing Joe's attention. Like destroying Tommy's wedding, the closet full of men, Fort Lauderdale with Rickshaw, who we never saw again. There are some things about Joe I think you should know, and some of these things Joe thought I didn't know. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. It's almost over, Joe. Okay, friends of Joey, it's getting near the end. Everybody in this room calls Joe Kelly their friend. Please all lift your cups and raise all your voices and enjoy mocking Joey for all of his life choices. There are some things about Joe I think you should know, and some of these things I want you to know. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Mr. Flanagan, you're up.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to be emceeing this disaster tonight. I'm Joe's cousin, Richard. Okay, here we have Mr. Joe Kelly, my cousin from Richmond Hill, New York. Now living in Greenwich, Connecticut, in this small little room.
Hello.
Behind us, we have the pictures that Joe gave to the architect to show them how big his head was. And that was just not only just figuratively his ego, that's the size of his big Irish head. So anyway, the first person we have coming up is his daughter, Caitlin, who I'm told I'm not allowed to make fun of. Joe said, one rule, you cannot make fun of my daughter.
Which one?
But he didn't tell me which daughter. Yeah, exactly, Wolfie. Listen. Here she is.
Okay, hi guys. Okay, so my dad really doesn't like rap music, so I decided to, take a youthful twist on the roast. Hit it, Graham? Yo, Dad, you're not too bad, but here's some things about you that make me kinda mad. This guy over here, he makes me real proud, but I gotta say, he talks real loud. But it's okay, cause you're a funny guy. Almost everybody says it, I hope they didn't lie. What they don't say is that your jokes are kinda bad. They sound like they came from a joke book just for Dad. Dad, he bought a truck. It was big, but he had no luck. 3 months in, he took it for a spin and he crashed it. Shit. Dad, you got cool friends like Mr. Glenn Fox. I like him more than that gut-filled guy on Fox you watch. Back at when he's real cool. Cause he's just like my guy friends, yeah, the ones I see in school. That tall dude looks, you think he's here. He's a pretty goofy guy, and he drinks a lot of beer. My Uncle John, your meatballs are pretty bomb, but Uncle Frank's got a face filter on. Now, Mom, I bet you thought I'd spare ya. We all know humor is not your strongest area. All your C's, they don't mean yes. All they mean is you've got a lot of stress. Yeah, she punches a Marine. And that raised her self-esteem. But hey, y'all be nice to my mom, cause wait. Yeah, Dad, you had this sick party cause you wanted to be king for the night. I ain't sorry now, Dad. I hope your burns are tended to, cause I just lit you on fire like I meant to.
Excellent. Okay, so next up we have Joe's older brother Frank, who is going to come up here and say a few words about growing up with him and apologize for what happened. And also, Frank's a great guy. He's a colonel. He was a colonel in the army. Are you still active, Frank?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so he's a colonel in the army. He thinks he's really funny because the thing is, he tells jokes to all the people who serve with him, and they all laugh at his jokes. But they're also the guys who salute him. So I don't know what you call that in the military, but in civilian life we call it kissing the boss's ass. I haven't seen a funny colonel since Colonel Klink on Hogan's Heroes. So let's see how you do, man. Go ahead, here you go.
We get a good look around my last visit to Joe's house. Does everybody hear me now? I think so. You're just gonna keep that music playing the whole time I'm up here? That's perfectly all right. Wolfie, it's good to see you. I'm glad to hear you singing. And I heard the chorus from all the dogs in the neighborhood. But remember when we got the first dog and Mom had to put that pork chop around your neck so the dog would play with you? Well, that other time you ran away from home, Mom had said, if you don't come back, all would be forgiven. He did have an inferiority complex when he was young, and it was completely justified. So when he was young, he was he had some problem when he was young. He was a light eater, so when it was light, he would still eat. But with great hope that Joe would excel in higher education, Mom sent him eventually to high school, where he did in fact graduate. And that was before students had to take standardized tests. But Joe remembers his high school years as the best 6 years of his life. And I recall him spending many hours watching the Three Stooges and taking notes. So, he excelled in health class, but he did confuse it with English class. And one of the teachers wrote home when he confused Moby Dick with the parrot at the end of the midterm. Of course there was sports, sports. And, he played soccer in high school, which surprises everybody. But I never figured out what position he played. But I remember the coach always calling Joe one of the team drawbacks. we grew up in a quite deprived environment, as you may have heard from everybody, I'm sure. But I think Joe was most deprived of oxygen. So not once during his young life did he ever get a head cold, because germs can't live in a vacuum. The next page. So he went to Iona College at the suggestion of a local judge, as an alternative to the other suggestion, which he could have completed in 15 months with time off for good behavior. So he managed to graduate without honors or distinction, and his participation in the social life of the school was well regarded by everyone except the authorities and the police. So the rich legacy of those social endeavors from Iona College stay with you today. In fact, I think one of the lawsuits will be paid off this year. Well, he did not graduate in the top half of the class. He did graduate in that half of the class that makes the top half possible.
That's candy.
I can see. I have a few more more drinks. I have a few more drinks, I'm gonna be funny to me. His love of learning is not abated. He attended various professional Wall Street designation classes where he honed his broker's instincts by consistently graduating fourth in a class of 4 remedial education students. After his long career in finance, he boasts of absolutely no credentials, licenses, or professional designations expected of someone of his age and experience. But he can boast of no allegations of misdemeanors or felonies ever being substantiated.
Good lawyers.
After Joe moved to after college, Joe moved to Pelham, and then moved to Manhattan based on multiple requests from neighbors. So of course I recall Joe being a little more frugal in those days. He was starting out. When he wanted to redecorate the apartment on Gold Street, I recall that he walked around the house naked for a few days, and all the neighbors chipped in for curtains.
Yeah, laughter. I love it.
But work seemed to be going so well that based on the general consensus of his coworkers and some outstanding warrants, he moved to Japan, where he stayed until the end of the statute of limitations. The Japan stint had some lasting effects. The origami bank folded. The sumo bank went belly up, and the bonsai bank cut some branches. I'm sorry, that's funny.
Try that one again.
Upon his completely unheralded return to the United States, he managed to get through immigration without being taken into custody. And success has not changed a bit. In fact, it doesn't appear to have come anywhere near him. As I recall, he had to leave the U.S. job soon after returning due to illness. The boss got sick of him. Around this time, he somehow managed to trick Jill into marrying him and starting a family. Of course, she's the only woman I know who has a mink coat with a picture of Brad Pitt in the lining. But of course, Joe keeps the love blooming by getting fresh batteries and taking the kids somewhere once a week. So, I guess that's for after 11, right? So, I heard the two of them talking earlier. Joe said to Joe, "You want to try some new positions tonight?" And of course, Joe agreed. So Joe said, "Yeah, you do the dishes, and I'll sit on the couch farting and watching TV." Then it was a whirlwind to up and move to London, where the papers had not yet picked up any stories from the New York papers, and they have legal sports betting in London. So while in London, he convinced Bill to move over there, apparently because he needed somebody to hold the bail money. He managed to build a large book of business. He managed to help his clients make a small fortune after starting out with big fortunes. And while in London, he did the work of 3 men, Larry, Curly.
What are brothers for?
Nice excitement. Almost done. But you really. I think I might be missing a page.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
When he was in London, we talked about him starting a hedge fund, but he said he didn't like landscaping. One time he had Bill do a presentation for clients, and his advice to Bill was, hey, always start off with a joke. So Bill put a copy of the paycheck Joe was paying him on the first slide. He'll never do a presentation again. The London years are proof positive that the difference between a bond broker and a bond is that the bond matures. But all of his clients were very happy. When I asked in preparation for tonight, how they succeeded, they all said they took Joe's advice and turned it 180 degrees. From there,
We need help on that one. What do you think about
From there, Joe went on a storied path of teaching our youth the wonderful game of rugby, publishing his Uranium newsletter, and being elected to public office. To this day, there's no evidence of any kind supporting any allegations that any of these publications were ever critiqued, cited, or even looked at. And no attendance fee was ever collected from any of his election rallies, and there's no evidence that there's more than 10 people in it. He's involved in all the local issues of the day and has a photographic memory of details. Unfortunately, there's no film in the camera. So, many people think that while presiding over the big debates of the day, the Board of Education, he has nothing on his mind, but I can tell you Joe occasionally wears a hat. He has a titanic intellect. It's not the first time out. He has an answer for everything. Unfortunately, it's the wrong one. In politics, as in business, he has no ego. Anybody would be better. His logic makes onions cry. But why before putting Joe up for candidacy at the school board, the party made him take an IQ test, and luckily it came back negative. He's not intellectually. He's not intellectually challenged. He's always going to ask me to spell that last. So, but you really can't fault the way he runs the board meetings. People used to think he was obnoxious and arrogant, and now it's just the opposite. They think he's arrogant and obnoxious. So, people say they used to think he was a pain in the neck, but now the opinion of the pain is much lower. And in closing, I'd like to leave Joe with one thought, but I don't know where you would put it. I can just say that from now on, I'll always try to see things from your point of view. I just don't know if I can get my head that far up my ass to see it.
Colonel Frank Kelly, thank you for your service, because the last 20 minutes I can't thank you for. Holy shit. Okay, so, yes, okay, so, where is the Christmas tree? Because the next roaster is Jill, so you're getting insulted by your daughter, you're getting insulted by your brother, insulted by your cousin, insulted by your wife. Merry Christmas, it's like Christmas at the Kelly house. Anyway, Jill, you're up next. And Jill met Joe and Iona. And Jill, everybody had that moment when they were in college, where they woke up next to somebody and they said, oh my God, what did I do? Obviously you didn't have that moment. Until 7 years later, you were married with half your wedding cake in your hair, asleep on the 9th hole at the Larchmont Country Club. Anyway, Jill Kelly.
Larchmont Short Club. Thank you, Rich.
Hold on, wait, Rich. Can you get me another beer, please, in the beer fridge? The Bronx Brewery.
So I was really worried that wasn't going to be funny, and now I'm not so worried anymore. And we really only have Frank here in the wintertime when the pool is covered, because he grew up in our pool in England, so we like to keep the pool covered when he's around. He drank too much that night. He had a good time though. Okay. You need to hold that. Okay. This could be one of your last social events for a while, actually, all of you, because of Corona, so enjoy yourselves tonight. I really couldn't pass up on this opportunity, though, to roast Joe, so here we go. Anything I say cannot and will not be used against me, by the way. As many of you know, I have loved Joe for over 36 years and married over 30 years. Being raised a good Catholic girl, a life of charity without having to become a nun seemed very exciting to me. The canonization of a saint normally does not happen until 5 years after someone has left this world. I'm actually going to be the first canonized living saint. Peanut gallery over there. Fred Camillo, I don't know if he's here yet, but our first selectman, he told me that to become a saint, you have to do 2 miracles. I said, I think one big miracle, being married to Joe, and many little miracles every day, because Lord knows he's always here. And I get my daily cup of Joe every day, 365 days a year. There's so much shit to support my sainthood, I didn't know where to begin. I decided to write down a bunch of reasons for St. Jill and pull them out of this very appropriate appropriate old toilet seat.
It's an actual toilet seat.
That's legit. Yes.
Old toilet seat. It's actually called a commode. Okay, let's put that there.
It was a little difficult remembering them clearly because I tend to forget negative experiences, and my thoughts were naturally being clouded by all the fuck yous in my brain. Some advice. Saying fuck you feels really good, but it's better for your relationship to be able to keep all those fuck yous inside your head. Before I start with pulling these out of the toilet or commode, excuse me, I had no idea what ADD was 35 years ago. After nights out in college, I would say to Joe, "Why do you always have to be the clown and center of attention? You look like an idiot." Joe didn't care. He was getting attention. I tried for so long to talk sense into him, but clearly he had a problem. He has ADD, attention desire disorder. Over the years, Joe has evolved in the way he looks for attention. Being a boss of a company, coaching, running for politics, and having birthday parties like this one, at any age for himself. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be a special year. 57 is this year. People have been asking, it's not 60, it's 57 only.
I'm not looking for attention.
So, the problem with marrying someone who becomes successful and grew up in a house you could lay down, touch your feet to the wall on one side of the house, and your hands to the wall on the other side of the house, is that just having a car to get you around and an endless supply of ketchup is luxury to them. That was actually in our prenup, that I would always keep a supply, an endless supply of ketchup in our house. Well, the ketchup was the only prenup. I should have done more than that. He was so used to using the red stuff to smother his mother's attempts at cooking or anything green that might appear on his plate. So he had that. The cars that could get us around. I remember one car that I had to hang my head out the window because the exhaust used to come through the dashboard, for real. Another was so bad, my parents were expecting guests at their home and the car was parked in front of the house because we had taken my car to go out somewhere. And my dad tried to move it to the side by accident. He pushed it into the brook. Good thing it wasn't one of the ones he used to paint with different color house paints. He used to paint his cars with house paint. Yeah, this is charity, I told you. When we were dating, Joe's cars were so bad that when he was finished with them, he would just park them on the side of the road and leave them. I'm not sure if any of you know, but Joe has a terrible health problem. When someone asked him what it is, he said, "I've got the big C." They said, "Cancer?" He said, "No, dyslexia." Joe is so dyslexic, he can't even dance to the YMCA song. Life doesn't give Joe lemons, it gives him melons. For most people, there's no I in team, but for dyslexic Joe, there is. One good thing about having this problem is when you get pulled over for speeding doing 53 in the 35 mile per hour zone, you can just tell the officer that you're dyslexic. You got that? 35, 53. I'm gonna try that actually.
All right, Graham. Do some,
Joe is definitely the first member of the Greenwich Board of Ed who can't read. Joe should add Dr. Seuss to the list of doctors he's seen. A good read for him would be Cat in the Hat on aging. I cannot see, I cannot pee, I cannot chew, I cannot screw. Oh my God, what can I do? My memory shrinks, my hearing stinks, no sense of smell, I look like hell, My mood is bad, can you tell? My body's drooping, have trouble pooping. The golden years have come at last. The golden years can kiss my ass. Thank you, Ray Dalio. We came home from our trip for the February break and we had a big box at our front door. It was a present from Ray Dalio, a cool karaoke machine for Joe's birthday because he couldn't make it for tonight. He doesn't realize that Joe has another disability. He's tone deaf. It's best for all if he only sings in a soundproof room by himself. New York, New York, and I Did It My Way will never be able to be listened to the same way again in the Kelly household. He used to practice at like 8 o'clock in the morning with the karaoke machine we had already. I let my mother-in-law live with us for 2 years. Enough said. I'm sure everyone in this room has experienced Joe being embarrassingly loud, trying to get attention. I'm also sure you stood there like, what the fuck, are you serious? I learned a long time ago never to try to tell him something discreetly because he'll just repeat it in his loud voice. That's his attention desire disorder coming through again. Another hardship I have had to endure is Joe's wardrobe, and that's what really should be roasted tonight. By the way, Joe likes to brag about his boxing ability. Just so you all know, I'm the only one in this house who has a championship belt. Right up there. In the shadow box. That to him was overkill. I'm like, seriously? That's overkill. That is totally overkill.
Jill, not everyone sees the display.
No talking. No talking. No talking. As we all know, Joe's really good with kids. One Halloween, Joe decided to dress up like a Chainsaw Massacre guy. He wore a long Australian wax coat, crazy mask with long hair, and came running from behind the giant trees on our driveway with a chainsaw revving. Don't worry, he took the chain off the chainsaw for his fun. He traumatized, though, the little neighborhood trick-or-treaters for life. Last night, Joe was talking about his friend from Malloy High School, Jim Galowski. He's the one that's not able to come tonight because his company put a ban on travel. He told us that Jim was voted most popular in their all-boy high school, and he thought that was really weird. Joe was voted most memorable, which according to Joe was so much better. I said, it's just as bad, because you were voted most memorable, and now they're all thinking of you when they're lonely.
Very long list.
Well, and you know what? I had so much stuff I had to like weed stuff out. Really, I don't know. But there's a video here of Joe doing his male beauty contest. He was emceeing the male beauty contest at Iona College. So it continued from high school into college with the men and beauty and whatever and memorable and most popular and that can just play in the background if you want. Okay, so you may not know that Joe has green thumb. When cancer sped up the loss of Joe's crop of hair from the top of his head, he began to cultivate it on his face. He's very good at growing things though, just not on the top of his head. Joe thinks he's a grill master. He makes me feel like a goddess when he serves me the burnt offerings. Joe and I both love to eat. I love to eat healthy. Joe not so much. He loves to eat anything. From the beginning, whenever we ordered our food at the restaurant, they would think Joe was ordering for both of us. But then they would realize that it was his order only. They would say, "That's a lot of food, sir. I can't count the amount of times I've heard that." Another embarrassing thing Joe does having to do with food is he enjoys drenching himself in hot pepper sweats. At home or in public, it doesn't matter. You just want to grab the napkin and like wipe his forehead or cheek or chin, or it's dripping everywhere. But really, the keys to a happily ever after relationship are the little things that you enjoy in life. Joe has no idea. He doesn't know the difference between a good bottle of wine and a bad bottle of wine. So I let him drink all the bad bottles of wine, and I drink the good bottles of wine. By the way, I know for sure Joe will never go to the Grand Canyon with me again, because I told him I thought that if you ever wanted to get rid of someone,
That was weird.
it was a perfect place to do it. Especially during the colder months when they have the patches of ice scattered all around and no guardrails. Honestly,
Behind me, it's like,
honestly, Joe, life with you is definitely special. You deserve a really special gift for your birthday. I thought of the perfect gift. Me. Happy birthday.
Joe. Good job, Jill.
You knocked it out of the park. Except you saved a lot of money on marriage therapy. So we have Glenn Fox next, then Glasgow. You want to throw somebody up here before our break? Okay, whatever you want. And you're the boss. Oh wait, actually, hold on. Jill, what do you want to do? You're the boss. I'm sorry. Well, Glasgow didn't show up. Glenn Fox didn't show up. Do we have room to get somebody else up before the break? Okay, so it's Joe Kelly Day every 4 years, thank God. So anyway, Steve is a politician here, former politician in Greenwich, and everybody knows how funny politicians are, so this should be really just a grand... Hold on, man, what? Hold on. Let me take the mic away from this guy. Here you go, Steve.
When Joe first approached me to come here tonight, I thought he just said tell some jokes, and so I started just looking up things and trying to figure out jokes. So then I heard it was your birthday, but I had some jokes to tell and some sort of related to you. So I'm just going to start off with just one joke. I mean, I don't know if you'll find it funny or not. It really isn't about you, Joe. I mean, I know that's hard for you to understand, but there are a lot of people here who enjoy rugby, and so, all right. Here's a little trivial. It's some trivia pursuit type joke, and we'll see how it goes. So, what do you call an Irishman holding a bottle of champagne after the Rugby World Cup final? Anyone? Joe Kelly. Sure. The waiter.
Oh. Starting good. He gave me a soundtrack.
All right, what can we say about Joe Kelly? He's the only person who can take his skill as a rugby player and coach and translate that into a political career. In fact, even the president recently tweeted out a nickname for Joe. No. Joe, Sleepy Joe was taken. Sleepy Joe was taken. Lilliputian leprechaun. That's your moniker for the next 2 years. But as a young rugger, Joe showed his prowess for dealing with opponents. He would always treat them with kindness. Well, maybe that skill actually developed over time. And so, here's Joe, either at a recent Board of Ed event or a rugby scrum, we can't just tell. I think Joe is the one on the bottom smiling. The question is, who are the other Board of Ed members in this picture? You know, Joe has a certain severity for explaining the intricacies of complex board of ed issues. It's already gained notoriety in town. Here's Joe at a recent Board of Ed meeting where his wisdom is on display. And I quote, "In hindsight, I believe that our oversight was short-sighted. At least that's my insight." Joe, words of wisdom, man, words of wisdom. Shows that it's always better to lift others up. Here we see Joe in his early days. Today he supports others from political office. This, of course, is because of his recent awesome victory. All right, my tech is not working with me here. You know, Joe won this last election. It was amazing. His opponent did not receive a single vote. A single vote! Wait, he didn't have an opponent. Which of course then makes Jill the only politician in the Kelly household to actually win a contested election. Freddie, what do you think? Successor right there, huh? Now, Jill's slogan in a couple years? Keep the Kelly green in Greenwich. How about that one? Now we're working on it. All right, back to Joe. Of course, back to Joe. He knows that while he has many friends, like us all, now that he's on the Board of Ed, he has many constituents trying to get his attention. Here, a few constituents kissing Joe's ass to get him to plant natural grass at Central Middle School. No turf toe for Joe, that's for sure. Joe's learned that it takes a lot of effort to move an idea forward. Here, Joe's trying to throw out the trash without an official Town of Greenwich garbage bag.
Sorry, Fred.
Now that truly says pay as you throw to a whole new level. Now, we know Joe stays in shape by boxing. That's good, because here are some of Joe's opponents trying to slow Joe's meteoric rise in politics. Burn, baby, burn, Joe. Sometimes, like in rugby, a political issue hits you square in the face. Here, Joe hears from a constituent about his plan to make the high school more pedestrian-friendly. He's going to close Hillside Avenue to cars completely. Let us know how that goes, Joe.
Good plan.
You may not know that Joe is chairman of a group to decide how to renovate Cardinal Stadium. Here, a committee's hard at work. I actually think they're trying to figure out what their plan is. In fact, in the front there, with the pants split, is Randy Carabella. He's so excited, he split his pants. What dedication. And Joe has used the platform of the member of the Board of Ed to reach as many kids as possible. He's even taken the initiative of promoting rugby and grammar. Here's an example of one of Joe's signs that he will be placing in every school. You know, it really is important to Joe that he teaches youth about life. In fact, even his own children he strives to teach about life's lessons. The other day I overheard Brittany ask Joe if every fairy tale begins with once upon a time. After pondering that, Joe answered, "No, sweetheart. Sometimes it begins with, if I'm elected." After Joe concludes his political career, Joe intends to go back to coaching. Here, Joe prioritizes the skills necessary for rugby. Now, that also applies to volleyball, softball, and life in general. mutilate,
Mangle.
mangle, crush, pound, slam, bash, plaster, pulverize. Honestly, I'm a little surprised that pulverized is so low on the list, Joe. I just thought that would be more important to you than the others. But just remember, Joe, never take yourself too seriously, because to quote a not so well-known individual, the problem with political jokes is they get elected. Cheers, Joe. Happy birthday.
Thanks for insulting the Irish there, pal. Working to the wrong crowd. Very good job. I can't believe a politician was actually funny. Okay, our next roaster coming up is married to Jill's sister. Jill's sister didn't come here, and this guy got guilted into coming here. All right, and he is from Denmark. Now I don't know why he's here. Is Jill sponsoring your citizenship? You're from the happiest fucking place in the world, and you came into this house. Come on. Christian Jepsen, everybody. From Denmark.
Do I need this thing? Do I need the mic? Yes.
Because we don't understand what you're saying.
Oh, man. What is he saying? The accent.
Speak English.
But anyway, hey, first of all, the Danes were here first. Anyway, so again, Joe called me a month ago and said, I wanna, praise myself and hear good things. So I said, why don't you be one of the roasters? And I told him, I've never done a roast before, because in Europe we're not that talking about ourselves, So I said, I'll do it anyway. So I remember from my days beginning down in Pennsylvania that when I heard about a roast, it was always somebody that was running for office, fundraiser, big birthday, anniversary, and maybe somebody who got elected to a selectman in Greenwich. But neither of those applies to Joe. So I wonder, why would you do that? Why would you invite people to come and roast you? And I guess that explains the big bobbleheads up there. That he is, to a certain extent, very full of himself. So again, I've never done a roast before. I actually looked up the definition. And I have to read it. It says a roast is a form of humor in which a specific individual, in this case Joe, is subject to jokes at their expense. In addition to jokes and insult, such events may also involve praise and tributes. So I only known Joe for less than 10 years. I could not come up with one praise. nor one tribute. So, which means that this is going to be very brief. It's going to be Danish jokes that to some might be insulting. But nevertheless, here I am. Good looking, intelligent, married well, great kids, lived overseas, great house, money in the account, and then there's Joe. So I said, I haven't known him for that long, but I heard about Joe that he has always been ahead of everybody else. So when Joe was in second grade, all his buddies was 8, and Joe was 12. As we heard, he somehow made it through high school and then into Iona College. And that's actually where he learned a very important life lesson. Something that it actually pertains to all of us. And it came from one of his professors, and the life lesson was that you should never under-promise, but always over-deliver. And as we know that you can't read, so the professor said, okay, so this is how you're going to remember this advice. Every Friday and Saturday, when you go out in town, later in the evening, when the girls start to come up, you're interested, you just tell them that you're impotent. You're also impotent. First of And secondly, there's always one that's curious. And in this case, there was, of course, Curious Jill. Curious Jill Ty, this innocent girl from a Catholic, Irish, Italian family. As you can see, they're still together, which tells you that Joe has, in fact, over-delivered. And let me ask you, the guys in the audience, any of you impotent? Look, girls, they can't even get their arms up.
Danish humor.
That's all right, sorry.
Oidi.
So we now, and you should try to do this in Denmark. But nevertheless, so marriage came along. I wasn't there, obviously, but I've seen the video. Yeah, there was a repeat of Animal House. Falling through the air, etc. Nevertheless, you know, they made it to the wedding night. Again, Jill was very innocent girl. So, this could have been first. She comes into the sleeping corridor, and there she sees Joe trying to take off his shirt. His whole chest full of hair. She runs out, she runs downstairs, and runs there. Yes, suddenly mommy, sorry, in advance. Mama, his chest is full of hair. My mom said, Tim, go back, this is normal, go do what you have to do, it's your wedding night. So he comes up and now his shirt is totally off, and on his back there's a tattoo of a huge battleship. Runs down to her mom again, Mama, he has a huge tattoo on his back. Jill, this is normal, he was in the Navy, go up and do what you have to do. Now he comes in and he has his pants off. She looks at his right foot, half a foot from an injury. Runs down to Mama, Joe has a foot and a half. Jill, you stay here, this is a job for Mama.
Where's the drum
So
thing
now
for that?
I'm getting into to reference some of the stuff that I know about this guy, you know, and we heard about boxing and rugby and his interest in sports in general. And the first time when I joined the family, my father told me, just wait until you meet this Joe Kelly. He was once participating in Golden Gloves. He entered the ring, he hit the guy once, Joe won. I was like, this is impressive. 10 years later, we get invited to a fundraiser, a boxing fundraiser, where this guy is going to participate in the heavyweight category. And here I am, your high expectations. Cassius Kelly. And what do I see? No butterfly, no stinging bee. Rumble in the jungle? Yes, because when elephants make love, it gets very dusty, it's very dusty. We also, the next opponent, by the way, it was a draw. The next year was a draw, it was last night. Bro, wasn't even dope, it was unbelievable. Jill came up. Within 5 minutes, the ball was down, the evidence up there. He thinks he's the boss. I know he'll make the decision, for sure. But anyway, I came to know Joe, and he's a great guy, you know. He's not very good at telling jokes. His jokes are around 10 words at the most, because he's now getting to a stage in his life where he can't remember the punchline. So here's a few. What do you call a pig on a leash? Pulled pork. Last week, Joe gave away all his used batteries, free of charge. Joe.
I know all of those.
The coronavirus. Make sure you also get Lyme disease. Joe, I've come to learn, he's an animal lover. dogs from wherever, you know. Dogs get on the internet and they show up 10 times the size of the order, etc., etc. So for one of the birthdays, Jill decided to give him another pet. So she went to the local pet store here in Greenwich. Said, I need to find something special for my husband. You know? And the guy said, yeah, we know this. I can suggest carrots. Carrots. Yeah, they're raising $1,000 times 50. I'll be okay, let's talk about $50. And I said, the reason it's so expensive because it lives most of the time in the fossil. So the language is a little different. Perfect carrot. Jill brings it home, the family is gathering out in the kitchen. Jill puts the cover off. The car looks around and says, new environment, new girls. Hey, Joe. And earlier you saw the Netherlands there. And that reminded me about the fact that these girls were stuff. At least over that moment. So some years ago, Joe was having a severe headache. I think it extended to migraine. That's what he called it. And he went to his doctor, and the doctor said, Joe, this migraine has been around so long, so there's only one solution. And it's basically you go to Greenwich Hospital and we get you into surgery. And the surgery here that will cure you is basically we're gonna remove your testicles. Testicles. And Joe said, that's a tough one, but the migraine was so severe, so he decided to do it. Goes to the hospital, comes out the next morning, you know, sun is shining, birds are singing, migraine is gone. So now he walks down Greenwich Main Street, he walks by Brooks Brothers and said, damn, I want a new wardrobe. And look, I mean, he certainly needed one. So he goes in there and says to the guy, I'm the happiest guy in the world today, I want a new wardrobe. And this was a very experienced guy behind the counter. He said, perfect, Joe, let me look at you. And Joe says, I want a shirt, size 18. Yeah, you're right. Pants, I'm saying size 40. Joe says, you're good, man. Shoes, you're a size 13. The guy said, Joe says, this is amazing. So are we done? And Joe says, no, I also want let me have a pair of underwear. And the guy says, yeah, extra large. And Joe said, no, I knew you're not that good. I wear a medium. And the guy said, if you wear medium underpants, they will put so much pressure on the textiles that you will end up with a severe migraine that can only be... Anyway. Happy birthday. Thank you.
I didn't know Danish people could be funny. Anybody could be funny making fun of you, Joe. I mean, seriously. So now that we've gone through almost every relative you have, a fellow politician, we're going to have actually friends of yours, not from grammar school, because there's none over here. None. Not one Richmond Hillbilly is here. And then nobody from Malloy, because Pulaski can't sit on you. And now we're going to have some people from Iona Community College. Sorry, it was a mistake. I just found out Iona's a 4-year school today. So we have Tim and Ellie. Now, Joe asked Ellie to do this, and her husband Tim, who was a Marine. Did you see, were you in the sandbox? Did you go to Iraq or Afghanistan? But he didn't want to do this. Even though he's a Marine for 7 years, he's still scared of his wife. Okay? So, these guys are the kooky cool couple, and they're going to be like Burns and Allen, Sonny and Cher. They're going to be so much fun. The Odd Couple. Here they are. Thank you, Rich. All right, so thank you. Thank you, Rich. That was fantastic. What a great audience. All right, nice to see you, Joe. I think the agenda was to roast Joe. I feel like after 35 plus years, I've been roasting Joe for 35 plus years.
So for an occasion like this, a special occasion like a 57th birthday, I think we had to do something, what a milestone. I think me and my beautiful wife Ellie have to do something really special. So I give to you, to Joe Kelly, the musical.
A story about a boy and his balls.
Hey, how you doing? You're looking pretty great. What's your name?
My name's Jill. What's yours?
Joe, I am great.
We should get together. We'd be great together.
I know, we would be great together.
We go together like
Being a bouncer and fighting on North Avenue.
together forever like
The breathalyzer machine at Tammany Hall.
we'd be great together like
Heavyweight boxing in Greenwich, Connecticut.
together forever.
Like the Phil Donahue show.
What's the matter, Joe? You were doing great.
I know, I was great, wasn't I? And you know, when I came to Miami College, I came here to be the greatest.
But you're a great athlete.
I know.
Something like I don't know, basketball.
Well, they're pretty great.
How about something, less, exciting, like cross country?
Yeah, they're actually pretty great too.
How about, water polo?
Yeah, they're actually a very good team.
What about that game you play with your drinking friends in Queens? Is that a real sport?
What's it club? You mean rugby?
Yeah. Is it NCAA?
No, it's a club.
Well, do you have like coaches and referees?
Sometimes.
Do you have uniforms?
It's complicated.
Do you have practices and any kind of statistics, like who's the best and how many games you win and
I see where
who
you're
keeps
going.
track?
No, they don't keep track of anything. That's perfect. I'm the greatest rugby player ever.
You are the greatest rugby player ever.
I know.
I'm never gonna let you go.
I'm never gonna let you go.
I'll walk the length of campus for you, unless I get it right. I might even get my dad to like you. At least I can try.
I'll run the length of City Field and then North Avenue. I'm never going to let you go. I'm gonna hold on to you.
I'm gonna hold on to you too.
I know, me too. I'm never gonna let you go.
Go, Joey, go, go, Joey, go, everybody. And he never did put the ball down. Between 62 games for Iona Rugby, Joe carried the ball for 4,100 minutes. Joe set an Iona record carrying the ball the entire Iona versus Navy game on March 17, 1985, and finally handed it over on April 12th at Drew University. But in 1986, Joey graduated, and off he went to make his fortune on Ball Street.
Ball Street, what's your price? I'll buy that. Ball Street, what's your price? I'll buy that. Ball Street, oh, hey Joe.
Hi,
No?
Well, can't you trade something else, like stocks?
Yeah, that's pretty competitive.
How about oil?
No.
Gold?
No.
Silver?
No.
Sugar, oats, coffee, hops?
No.
How about frozen concentrate, frozen orange juice?
No.
How about nickel, aluminum, copper?
No. No.
What are you gonna do all day, Joe? Sit around on Uranus?
That's it. I'll sell uranium.
Why uranium?
It's the rugby of commodities. And it's my favorite planet.
That's great!
I know!
They say you can make it a lot of money on Wall Street.
On Wall Street. You can trade anything when you get there.
Radioactive, but supply should last.
Trading uranium is a blast. Radioactive, but supply should last. And I won't stop until I lose my hair.
And so Joe went on to become the greatest uranium trader in Greenwich, Connecticut. But Joe had a little too much time on his hands, so to help the poor kids of Greenwich and keep them off the streets, he started coaching rugby.
Hi, little Jimmy. How you doing? You ready for practice?
I'm all right, Coach.
What's the matter, Jimmy?
I want to be the greatest rugby player ever.
Little Jimmy, can I call you Joey? Well, Joey, when I was young, I wanted to be the greatest rugby player. And you know, I thought being the greatest meant being the greatest rugby player. But it's not.
But I love rugby.
I know, but being the greatest is about being loved.
But I love rugby.
But Jimmy Joey, rugby is love. When I was young, I wanted to be the greatest. I did my best to find a way. Then I met Jill, and she made me feel the greatest when she came to all my games. Hands, come on everybody, touching balls, reaching out, touching me, touching them. Rugby is love, making all your dreams come true. Come true, come true, come true. Rugby is love, making all your dreams come true.
That was very good. I didn't realize we had prop comics coming up. What's next? What's next? Do we have a juggler or a ventriloquist? It was very, the most interesting thing about that is I found out that Joe sells uranium. Is that true? You can't fucking spell uranium. Now, if you told me aluminum, I might believe you. If you told me aluminum siding, I would definitely believe you, okay? All right, so the next guest we have, the next roaster, is a rugby coach. Shocking. His name is Lurch, which is actually my confirmation name. And so the thing is, so Lurch is going to come up here. He's a JV coach at Greenwich. He's not the head coach because the head coach is too scared to come up here. I don't know why, because the thing is, you're going to be one of the top 10 rugby coaches, high school rugby coaches in the country, since there's only 12 high schools in the country that have a rugby team. I mean, if this fucking idiot could do it, you could do it. All right, Lurch, get up here and give us some rugby stories.
Well, thank you very much. To start off, I guess we'll start with the whole Lurch moniker. Last spring, when Joe asked me to join the staff, I was actually really excited and into it. And we had a meeting right here at the bar, which we normally did. We had every meeting at the bar. Because it is rugby after all. But Joe said to me, hey, we have to solve this problem. What do we call you? And I said, you know what, Joe? I'm not a big fan of the name Lurch, ironically enough. Not a big fan. And I reserve it for guys that I actually played with, bled with, did the whole thing with. So it's Coach Mike. He's like, I'm 100% behind you. We're at the high school. All the parents are there. We're going to have a great time. And we're going to introduce the staff. And he introduces everybody else. And he goes, and the head coach of the JV this year is Lurch. Thanks, Joe. Typically your style. Way to go. I want to stop here and ask everybody here, what is the absurdity of having your own roast and inviting all your friends to your own roast? I Googled it. The only person who's ever done it was Donald Trump. He asked Comedy Central to do a roast pre-election. And I after that, I'm like, okay, there's some similarities. The hair, the weird hair, the orange glow. Okay, I get it. But again, it was his roast, so we're going to move on from that. So I was told by some people in the know in the greater New Rochelle area before they closed every single bar near Iona. I was closed that back in the day, there was a rule that there were no two members of the Fighting Kelly family allowed in one bar at one time. And I kind of chuckled at it at one point, but then I said, well, wait a minute. I have 11 stitches in my head from Bill Kelly, who accidentally kicked me in the head during a rugby game, even though we played on all-star teams together and everything, and he was my friend. He's like, oh, I didn't mean to do it, but... True. Very true. Even though my mother was mortified because I was supposed to be at my cousin's wedding in Philadelphia. I missed the wedding, which they all knew about, but when I was at the reception, I was bleeding into my eye because I only got staples in my head. Thanks, Bill. So anyways, we'll move on. With love. With love. What's even more funny about the Fighting Kelly story was I heard that at one point, Joe had a cast of not one, but two hands. So that makes you all think, what did he do when he had to wipe himself to go to the bathroom? And then I realized that his college girlfriend is still his wife. So, Joe, you must be an utter saint. You must be an utter saint. You should accept sainthood. No, just take the sainthood. We'll go along with it. So,
Theme.
Yeah, all right.
another great story. I heard Joe, everybody says, oh, he was a boxer. He was a Golden Glove boxer. It was so cool. Apparently, Joe in college told all his college rugby teammates that he was going to box in a boxing match in Queens, and everybody decided they were all going to go. So they pre-gamed, and college rugby guys in the mid-'80s, they know how to pre-game. And they showed up notoriously drunk to the boxing match. And the announcer said, in the blue corner from fighting out of Queens, New York, is Fighting Joe Kelly. And the rugby kids went crazy. They raised their hands, they jumped up and down, they screamed for joy. And then they said, fighting out of the other corner, out of Fort Apache, the Bronx, was a 6'4" sculpture of steel. And all the rugby guys went, run, Joe, run, get out. true to Joe's like incredible, like iconic spirit, he knocked the guy out. And then he did a backflip in the ring, and he turned up on every news story for a whole weekend. So it's half a flip, but he still showed up on the news. So it's hilarious because I kind of am a crossover between Joe's end of his career and the beginning of my rugby career with White Plains. And I spoke to a lot of guys at White Plains. I called them all. And I wanted to get some feedback from people I didn't really know Joe when he was younger. And here I had some great takeaway words. Some of them were ego and swagger and vanity and pale and slow. One former teammate from Iona told me, if I really want to be able to tell you all how great how Joe is, you should ask him and Joe will tell you what to tell him. Great advice. Thank you, Laugh Track. It's so ironic that we're having this party on the eve of March Madness. And I would go into greater detail on this, but I would hate to have Joe deported to England again. Joe gets it. Joe gets it too. Things are going to be really different in practice this year. Last year, every once in a while, Joe would just take a random phone call. And he would come back to the whole group of kids and he'd assemble them. He'd stop practice, assemble them. And he goes, "You would not believe it. I just sold $72,000 worth of uranium to this super nice guy in Qatar. And he's gonna make an awesome dirty bomb." It's kind of weird. Like, this year's gonna be tough because Fina's gonna be there and he's gonna be like taking the phone call and coming back like, "I just sold 5 dude sandwiches with extra chili for Corvo's," and he's gonna make a completely different, dirty bomb. So a lot of you don't know, I'm actually in the orthopedic business. And the first time I had any appreciable meeting with Joe, he called me and he's like, "I know you're in the orthopedic business and I'm thinking of getting both my hips done and I can't move, I can't walk, it's really miserable, so let's get together." So we had a wonderful lunch, we talked about it, I gave him all the advice I could give him as a medical rep. And at the end of the thing, I'm like, "Well, what do you really want to do? You want to be, walking, kayaking, having fun with the family?" He's like, "No, I want to play basketball, I want to play volleyball, I want to run around with kids playing touch." I'm like, "Well, typical rugby player." But in the same meeting, he said to me, "Well, I'm quasi-retired." This is before the whole, I'll say, sell uranium when nobody else sells uranium. But I said, "How is this so hard? It's got to be weird to be so young." Stop it. It's got to be so young to be retired and not working. He goes, "Well, Lurch, you don't understand. My money gets up and works for me every morning. It never misses an alarm." And at the time I was envious, and I realized envy is a bad word. So I got to tell you, I do admire not only the family you put together, life you put together, but how you treat others and how you care about the community and the team and the whole world. So thanks for having me tonight.
You turned it off on me? Are you tired of hearing me, Lurch? Okay, so thank you, Lurch. Awesome job. We still want to hear from the varsity coach, but I guess no, maybe next year or 4 years from now. So we had the couple doing the prop comic thing, and we have one last roaster, and then I'm going to say a few words about Joe as the MC. I think the next one is his brother John. And so basically, Joe, get up so John can put his arm in your fucking back, okay? All right, John Kelly.
Thank you, Rich. Happy birthday, Joe.
Anytime now. Thank you very much. Fat penguin. Sorry, I just wanted to say something that could break the ice. Joe, it's not that often that I get the opportunity to speak to you, to speak about someone so intelligent, well-respected, and admired. But unfortunately tonight, I have to talk about you. I want to thank Joe for throwing this great party in this beautiful home. It's just so nice to see that after growing up in a 3-bedroom, 1,500 square foot house in Queens, you were able to stay so grounded and true to your roots. I think we had the same loose-headed suit of armor in our basement. Now, just an observation, whatever kind of look you were going for tonight, you missed. Did you get that? Did you get a bowl of soup with that haircut? Now, Joe, despite all your accomplishments, despite all your businesses you've created, despite all of your income, all the people you've helped, and all the lives you've touched, you're still going bald. I know, your heart is almost as big as your bald spot. Now, there is one burning question that everyone in this room wants the answer to, and that is your ass jealous of the amount of shit that comes out of your mouth? Frankly, a lot of people often wondered what language you're speaking because it sounds an awful lot like bullshit. Joe, just a reminder, we're not insulting you, we're just describing you. I was talking to your kids a little earlier, and they described you as a cloud. When you disappear, it's a beautiful day. Joe, you were a great rugby coach over at the high school, and just by looking around this room, it's so obvious that you are not the type of coach who takes credit for all the kids' accomplishments. I just wanted to end with a true story. As I'm sure many of you have realized, the enjoyment of dropping a child off at college for the first time, packing the car, driving to campus, seeing the dorm room, and meeting the roommate for the first time, my experience was a little different. I decided that I would go to Iona College. Joe was still there, he was a 5th-year senior. And he decided that he would help me out. I was going to live with him for the first semester. So I packed up my clothes in a garbage bag. I got the mattress off my bed and we tied it to the roof of Joe's Volkswagen Rabbit. Joe gave me instructions to hold onto the mattress with my right hand and he would do the same with his left. He also said that I would have to be at the ready to pull the emergency brake because we were having a little trouble with the brakes. Well, we made it to New Rochelle without incident, and as we drove down North Avenue, we stopped at Tammany Hall and had a few beers before making our way to the apartment, just like all your kids, right? My first experience at living away from home. It was going to be great. Well, we arrived outside the apartment. It was right on North Avenue, right in the middle of everything. It was above a restaurant called Mr. Taco, and across the street from a bar called Bumpers. I was very excited to see where I was going to spend my first semester at school. I grabbed my bag of clothes, and we walked up a large flight of stairs. At the top, Joe said, "It's to the right, last apartment on the right." I got to the front of the apartment. I was kind of bewildered. There was no door. It was apparently removed for some unknown reasons. The only furniture in the apartment was an old green couch in the living room, which I would later learn was our roommate's bed. Joe pointed out my bedroom and he went into his. There was absolutely nothing in the room. I put my bag of clothes on the floor and walked into the kitchen. The cabinets had been ripped off the walls and the fridge was knocked over and leaning against the counter.
there was trash all over the place. Joe explained that he had thrown a party and things had gotten a little out of hand. I moved in my mattress and was all set for my first night at college. Remember, no front door. I got up, went to class. When I got back, I walked into the apartment and saw a green duffel bag on the floor next to our couch. That's when I met Bill Delaney. Sort of came and went as he pleased, sort of just slept on the couch. Later that day, Joe told me that the landlord owned the gas station across the street and that I should avoid him at all costs. It was definitely an interesting semester, and I really do appreciate all the help in getting my first college apartment. Just a little story. Happy birthday, Joe.
Very good job, John. Are there any other brothers who want to come up here and Timmy, Billy? Mary, you have anything to say? Come on. Your brother? Joe has a sister Mary, yeah, they haven't brought her up. She didn't play rugby, thank God. Nobody else, nothing, come on. Your brothers are knocking it out of the park here. Okay, so the thing is, now we're coming to the close of the night. Now Joe is going to be able to get up and insult some of the people who insulted him. But we're not going to do that yet, because one, I want to bring up the cowboy boots. How many pairs do you have?
Just one.
Just one? Your brother-in-law, how many do you have, Christian? 5. My wife is from Austin, Texas. There are more cowboy boots in this room right now than in her house, okay? All right, so anyway, Joe sent out the invitation. Come dressed, do whatever you want, have a great time, and the night is coming to a close. And now, as the MC, I'm supposed to say something nice. And I just got nothing. I don't know. I'm just dying. Joe's my cousin, and he was always great to us, me and my brothers and sisters. He's my first cousin once removed, so he's my mother's cousin, but we have such a big Irish family that my mother is, 26 years older than him. So, like, we all went to school together, and I had this guy to protect me. When I went to high school with him, there was one time, we went to all-boys high school with 1,600 students, and the sophomores would always beat up the freshmen. Joe was a senior at the time, and so there was these 2 sophomores. Joe might not even remember this. There were these 2 sophomores who were giving me a hard time, and he took his 2 claws and he took them up and banged them against the lockers. And there was one of the brothers dressed in his whole holy cross on the thing, his tassels and everything. And he's like, "Hi, Joe." And he goes, "Oh, hi, Father Juan. How you doing?" And he goes, "Don't pick on my cousin." And the guys were just like, never treated me bad again. But anyway, you and your brothers and your family were always great to us. You just a great guy. Every time I see you, it lifts my heart. Happy birthday, Joe. You motherfucker. You want to use a good mic?
I'll use a good mic.
Oh, here it is.
Music, please.
I've never fired a confetti cannon before. Very happy about that.
Okay, Graham.
Thank you, sir. Well, that turned out to be a little longer evening than I thought it was going to be. Wow. Got slaughtered there a little bit. Whose idea was this anyway? Well, it was mine. I do have to apologize. The caterer called, and the lobster and filet mignon got delivered to the 10-year-old birthday party. So I do apologize for the minor mix-up. So, oh well. And those who were parking out front, which I guess most of you people did park, I did hire a Greenwich police officer to direct the traffic out front. And unfortunately, Fred had dismissed him from parking, so I couldn't get him to do so. So I'm sorry if you had to park uncomfortably. Caitlin, are you here? There you are. Boarding school is going to be an option. You were raised wonderfully. So thank you for that rap thing you did. That was great. That was very funny. Very entertaining. Thank you for that. Well done. Wolfie. There's Wolfie right there. He's our entertainer. He was singing. Wolfie had a most horrible voice in college. He couldn't sing at all. He had a throat problem and had a prosthetic vocal cords put in when he graduated from college. And all of a sudden he started singing, and it was really nice. He does a nice job. So I'm happy with that. Just had his hips replaced. Did you have 3 or 2 hips replaced? Oh, just 1. Okay.
I didn't take your advice. I didn't get him in the jaw.
No, and Wolfie, I gotta tell a story about Wolfie because it was just so funny. Wolfie, believe it or not, used to be heavy in college. He was very heavy in college. And we used to live in this apartment building. I'm gonna tell a May Street story, Wolfie. Is that okay? Okay, good. We lived in this apartment building. It was a 6-story apartment building in May Street. And Wolfie, which I'm glad you're coming up here. Now, if you turn around a little bit, just turn around and show your tush a little bit. He's got a rather large tush. And back in college, it was not cool to have that. Now, these people it's cool to have a big tush. Exactly, it's a good thing. So we used to love to watch Wolfie run and scurry along when we used to go on top of the apartment building. We used to fill garbage cans and buckets full of water. So in this building we lived in, you had to walk a far way to get to the front door of the building. So we all used to get on the top of the building. At first it was one of us. We tried to time the bucket of water that we poured down on Wolfie.
You left out that I didn't have a phone, so you would say...
No, we didn't have phones back then, so we couldn't...
No, we had a phone up in the other apartment, and you'd say my mother called. And I would come across. See, that makes the
go
joke.
to the other side. But at first we'd take the bucket and try to time it, because 6 floors up, that water falls, and it falls kind of quickly, and it splashes on you. It's kind of shocking. So what we did, at first we tried to time it, we'd pour the water out as Wolfie's walking along. We'd go maybe 3 steps ahead and pour it down, and we'd land on him, and he would just get drenched and then run into the apartment building. So we found it, we thought this is, right Jim? We thought this was kind of funny. So then we think, you know what, let's try to do it, even make it more entertaining to us. So then there would be 3 or 4 of us up on top of the building. So we would kind of figure, let's see if we hit Wolfie with water here, and then you were 6 feet over that way, and then you pour the water again on Wolfie, and then you pour it again. He would get it from here and here and here, and then he'd run right into the building. It was the funniest thing to watch. Before you knew it, there was 30 of us on the roof, right? We would time his running. We'd pour 1 bucket, right? And then it'd land and hit him. He'd start running. And it was not very fast, but he was a very powerful runner back in college. Very powerful runner. But he would run, and we'd pour the bucket, then we figured out when he would actually reverse direction so he would not get hit with it. So he would turn direction. We all had it plotted out. We had it on paper. We figured it all out. He would run about maybe 30 or 40 feet that way, and then realize this is futile. I'm just getting hit with more waves of water. I'm going to go back this way now, and then he'd run this way. So the guys would be ready. Okay, time to dump this water, and then this water, and he would go back and forth. It was so much fun. We had a great time. This is true, right, Jim? Absolutely. So thank you for that, Wolfie. That was not at all. Not a bit of exaggeration. So he moved. That we tried to time the move. It was great. So thank you for that, Wolfie. That rings a bell. Where's Mrs. Peterson? Mrs. Peterson was running the serving staff tonight. I don't know if any of you guys know Mrs. Peterson. Mrs. Peterson has been raising money for Greenwich High School rugby for the last 30 years. Many of bought fruit in support of the Greenwich High School rugby. She has raised nearly $500,000 for Greenwich Rugby, selling fruit, 30 years. Mrs. Peterson, come in and take a bow. Thank you for all those people working for Mrs. Peterson. They did a great job tonight. Sonny with the video, great job. Hopefully it comes out okay. Graham with the sound effects, was that unbelievable or what? Don't I get any sort of canned laughter at all? You've already closed your laptop. I get nothing. Bill and Robin made the trip, thank you very much. Tim and Jennifer, they're here. Great, thank you very much. Everyone remembers TK when he coached at Greenwich High School. He did a fabulous job with us. Mary and Rich made the trip. Thank you very much for that. Jill. Okay, it's my turn to get back at you, but I've got to ask a question real quick. It's my birthday. Before I rip into you, am I getting it tonight or not? We'll see. All right, then I'm going to have to...
Depends what you say.
Oh, hold on, Mrs. Ty. She's right here. Yes, I have sex with your daughter. I know I've kept you from you for a long time now. Right? Yes, I've been hiding that for some time, but now it's out. I'm freaking Caitlin out right now. Sorry, Caitlin. Let me freak you out. Visual imagery of mom and dad. That's just, sorry, Caitlin, I've ruined your evening. I've probably ruined your year. All right, so I can't say it. Jill did a great job. Thank you for your roast. Rich. Yes. Rich was brought on as the MC. I went to about family members and other people that know us in common. I said, it's going to be a great night. You're going to come out, you're going to have some fun, it's going to be a blast. Rich is going to be the MC. Everyone to a person said,
Where's Ray Martin?
But Rich isn't funny. Every single person, family members, his own family, my family, people, then they remember him when he was here doing his routine last time, he's not funny. But I don't know, I thought you were very funny, Rich, so thank you very much, well done. Good MC work. Thanks. Now Frank, you roasted me. How nice was that? The internet was burning with less funny jokes to tell Joe. Well done, fantastic. I do have to say, I'm going to give a little up on something that Kathy told me in private. All right? And don't mention to Kathy that I said this in public. But basically, Frank is a colonel in the Army, right? And we all know that you've been, 30 years in the Army now? 30 years. He's a colonel. He doesn't really care too much about the Army. He just loves to be saluted. It's really weird, right? So he goes to these events, he goes to these military things, and these people are compelled and obligated, and they can't say no. They have to salute him. Oh, I won't do it, all right? But they have to salute him. And if there's any military people here, please refrain. And what I'm going to say, what his wife Kathy told me in confidence, the saluting is part of their foreplay. Now, Frank has 5 kids, all right? So that's a whole lot of saluting in the bedroom, all right? So Kathy said it's kind of weird, it's sort of what we do, but I just kind of salute and gets everything going, and we just have what we do. So please, anybody here, for Kathy's sake, do not salute Frank tonight. So, please, thank you. But that was great, Frank. You were very funny. Glenn Fox couldn't make it tonight. Yes. Glenn Fox he came down with the flu. I think he was scared. Little Caitlin thought that Glenn Fox was the most awesome guy in the entire world, right? She thought he was the greatest guy when she was younger. She's in high school now, a freshman. And she said, I used to think Glenn Fox was very funny and great. He was fantastic. But then I found that every sophomore boy acts like him. So no longer do I find him very interesting. Jim Galowski from high school was supposed to come as well. He got held up in England because of the virus. They had a ban on his travel. He was the gentleman who none of us wanted to be the most popular guy in the old boarding school. We all wanted to be the most memorable. That was really weird about the memorable. I didn't like that.
I know.
Popular, I don't know who's much. Steve Walko. Holy smokes, what a presentation. Your timing, as usual, was perfect. It was great. Your presentation, your video representation, it was awesome. Now, Steve, I got to meet him some years ago, and he represented me in a couple of cases. He was great. I thought this guy, a little howdy-doody looking, sort of Opie Taylor sort of guy. I'm like, how can this guy go to court and represent me? But he did great. He did fabulous. It was awesome. And he is the guy that got me. It was my birthday party last year, our cowboy party, where we had the mechanical bull ride here. Steve says to me, he says, Joe, you should run for office. I said, really? He said, you should, right? And then he was scheduled to go on the mechanical bull at that point. And then I looked at the mechanical bull operator, and I wanted to hear more. So I said to the guy, throw him off real quick, because I want to talk to him real quick again. We all know how Steve is. Steve was like, well, maybe I've never been on a bull before. I might actually have really intrinsic skills. I might be really good at bull riding. So he's thinking, I'm going to ride this bull better than anybody else, and I had him kicked off in no time at all. But sorry, Steve. But it's very interesting that you invited me. So thank you very much for that. Christian, what do I say about that? My Viking friend, where are you? Those Danish jokes were great. I thought it was fantastic. Now, Christian has 3 kids, a wonderful daughter going off to college this year. Where's she going to school?
Miami, Ohio.
Oh, Miami, Ohio. That's great. And now you have 2 little boys. How old are those little boys? 6 and 4, and you're over 60, aren't you? Has anyone ever not said to you, hey, are those your grandchildren over there? Fantastic.
I get that too, Christian. Don't worry about it.
All good. Tim and Ellie. Tim and Ellie, what a great performance. I thought that was fantastic. Thank you for that. The work you must have put in. Now, much like myself and Jill, Tim and Ellie, we married our college sweethearts, right? But something slightly different than myself and Jill, Tim and Ellie married different college sweethearts. So Tim and Ellie, how long you guys married for?
We've been married since 2013.
13. And you had another marriages before with your college sweethearts. How fun was that? I love the story now. So you kind of met each other again. Now I want to see if the story is correct in my mind. Because you guys told me it, so I'm seeing if it's right. Now you were both single, you both separated from your significant other, and you're sort of playing the field again. Now you found Tim on a porn site, is that correct? That's kind of cool. So Tim was posing in some sort of ex-Marine sort of helicopter pilot gear, and you're surfing the internet for porn that has like ex-helicopter pilot Marine people, right? And you just saw him, that's Tim, you said. And you called him or he called you, how did that go?
Well, you could email.
Emailed, so you emailed the porn guy, right? The porn pilot. Oh, is that pornpilot.com? Fantastic. I think that's great. Well, I thought the story was fantastic. But you're together and you're happy and you put on these performances. How good is that? That rings them. Is that you, Bill?
The Real Housewives of
I gotta get to everybody. Lurch, thank you for your roast. I'm so glad one of the coaches could come up and roast. That was great. My favorite story about Lurch, I appreciate it, but not everyone does, so I'm going to tell it. Because Lurch kind of loves to tell you about old tours back in 2002 when we went to Spain and we played. 2003 we played. Myself and Gareth. Hey Gareth! Myself and Gareth are standing together, right? Yeah! Give me a siren. Thank you. So myself and Gareth were standing together overseeing the kids playing some rugby. Lurch comes up telling stories of tours in 2002, 2003, 2000. What's that?
A siren is not coming gross. Just saying.
That was a good siren. All right. So there was a gentleman, a young kid, a freshman, standing on the field. He had a neck brace on. So after somehow between, Gareth was able to stop Lurch from telling one of the tour stories just for a second, right? And he said, what happened to that kid, right? And I look at Gareth, I'm like, this is wide open, isn't it? We could just say anything here, can't we, right? So we said, well, Lurch, this young fella fell out of an airplane, right? So he's like, really? I said, well, yes, he did. It's unfortunate, but he can't play for the season coming up because he hurt himself falling out of an airplane. And Gareth is holding it and he's not exploding in laughter. Lurch is like, okay, and then we went off to the next thing. So the next day, Lurch decides to walk next to the kid's father. He found out who the kid's father was and said, you know what? How did your kid fall out of an airplane? Am I right? And what did the father say at that point?
I think my son's telling an untruth.
Ah, yes.
And I said, it's not your son, it's the loser head coach.
Very funny. Yes, I enjoyed that. But before I get to you, John, you probably wonder why these birds are up here. Jill used to display these birds, and I like to tell jokes like 100 times, and Jill spends a lot of time with me and has spent a lot of time with me, and some people might have been the victim of this joke. What I would do is she'd have friends over, and these women would turn around, and I'd say as they looked the other way, I'd say, hey, have you seen my cock? and they'd turn around, right, like, and I'd stand there holding it going, right? And Jill got so angry because I kept telling that joke to all her friends. She put them in the basement, so I put them out here tonight. Because she was just tired of hearing the cock joke. And John, well thought out, very funny. I thought John did a great job. What do you guys think? Now, there's no reason a lot of you would know this story, but I'm going to tell this story, but there's a lot of you who do know this story. Now, Bill, my brother Bill, say hello, Bill. Bill is very large. John is not quite as large as Bill, all right? So when they were younger, Bill kind of caught up to him in size. So what we used to do for our entertainment, I think Frank organized this, right? We used to tie...
Scarred for life.
Yes. We used to tie John and Bill together at the wrist, and we used to say, on your mark, get set, go, fight for freedom. So we used to make them fight with each other when they were younger because they were the same size.
True story.
It's an absolute true story. And Frank, I think you organized this. And Mary, what did you have to say about this while it was going on? Nothing. And I feel I'm coming to an end here, so please don't get bored. Have a drink, of course. But I do have to get to the story about the no door. Everyone's wondering about why there was no door in our apartment. You didn't tell this story. The guy across the street who had the gas station who owned the apartment, he decided that he wouldn't put a door on. So I told him that I'm not going to pay rent until you put a door on, right? So he, being stubborn, did not put a door on, so I did not pay rent. To me, that was a good deal. John didn't see it as a good deal. We didn't have to pay rent the whole time. John, how much was your rent that semester?
It was free.
It was free. So that's a good thing in my mind. So I'm a little cheaper than John.
I didn't need any keys.
You needed no keys. No need. You just didn't have a door. Nobody took anything, or we just kept our stuff that needed to be taken.
Put it on the top of the door.
Oh my, the peanut gallery. So now, if there's anyone else who wants this... What did you do?
I had a door.
You had a door, but you had to pay rent. It was a good deal for me. No rent, no door. John didn't understand that it was a good deal. back then. So there's a lot of people here. Thank you very much, everybody who came. There's going to be a birthday cake. There's going to be hanging out, drinking, and all that stuff. That's fun. Is there anyone in the room feels? Come on up, Mike. Up.
I'll go again.
Anybody else wants a crack at the microphone? All right, great. Let's go music. Can you play some music? Walking. Do you know any more songs? You play it free. Do you know any more words? There you are. All right.
Are you ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Joe.
Happy birthday, Joe.
Happy
All the
birthday,
best.
Joe.
All the
again
best.
this year, and again next year. 58 next year, we'll be back.
Happy birthday, Joe. Birthday, Joe.
Ready on three. Happy birthday, Joe. Happy birthday, Joe. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Joe. I really don't mean it.
You can't say that. Happy birthday, Joe. Awkward. Bill?
Phil, kill the soul, man.
Kill the soul. It preserves your soul, if anything. Lord have mercy. Listen, Joe, happy birthday. Thank you. I didn't get to roast you, so. Bill, on camera. Bill, stop it. Behave yourself, Bill. Bill.
We originally granted you.
Happy birthday, Joe. Nothing better than getting to see you on the rugby pitch with our kids and then supporting them on the board. Although, of course, you know, we get to have a good time otherwise. But anyway, happy birthday. And I'm glad I could be here to help. Well, even though I didn't roast you, but happy birthday to be here with you.
Yeah.
There are some things about Joe I think you should know, and some of these things Joe does want you to know. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Happy birthday.